Hello everybody, thanks very much for joining us as we get set in a few minutes time for the first track action of the weekend at the start of the second half of the season now in DTM 2025. We're at the Nürburgring. We've got two free practice sessions today, the first of which is coming up in just about 4.5 minutes time as the cars head on to this Grand Prix version of the Nürburgring, adjacent to the world famous Nordschleife, in which cars have been going around all day already, and that of course was built in the mid-1920s. This former Grand Prix circuit then added on to it. We used the shorter version of the two layouts that we have, the sprint version of the circuit, so it's 3.6 kilometers long, and the weather is looking good for the weekend, although it's the Nürburgring, so you can never say that with 100% confidence, but it looks like it's going to be a nice day today. Fairly sunny, one or two clouds about, but dry today, dry and hot tomorrow up to maybe 27 degrees, and a little bit cooler, but again should be dry on Sunday as well. Nobody mentioned anything about fog, but we'll try not to talk about that because that can sometimes be a weird thing that happens up here, because we're in the Eiffel Mountains. It's a fairly low mountain range, but absolutely beautiful around here. The circuit surrounded by forests and woodlands and rolling hills, and the mountain range takes you all the way through to the eastern part of Belgium, and you're only around about an hour and a half's drive away from Spa-Francorchamps here. The area itself very rural. The town of Nürburgring only has about 170 inhabitants. Look to the right out of the commentary box. We're adjacent to the start-finish line, and we can see the Nürburgring Castle, which dates back to the Middle Ages, and a great vantage point you get there of the circuit if you climb the stairs to the top and have a look at the wonderful surrounding countryside. So it's a beautiful part of Germany. The nearest city is Cologne, which is about 65 kilometres away. There is the Nürburgring Castle, built on top of the local hill to defend the town back in the Middle Ages, used as a Roman castle as well back in its time, and having a bit of work done on the outside at the moment, bit of restoration, as you can see from the scaffolding. And that's where we are for this start of the second half of the season. 4 rounds done, 4 rounds to go, 8 races left in the championship, and only 8 points between the top 5 in the championship standings coming into this weekend. Absolutely wide open in the standings after an interesting, as usual, weekend at the Nürburgring around the streets last time out, where we saw some different race winners. We saw some of the front runners of the championship not going quite so well as they've gone previously, and it all bunched up in the championship table. So that's the scene that we've got set here. Bit of a breeze here, but it's a nice day, and the cars will be heading onto the track very shortly for this slightly longer first free practice session, which is 55 minutes of the session. We've got 2 55-minute plus 1 lap races coming up, one on Saturday, one on Sunday, and 2 qualifying sessions on each morning to set the grid for those races where championship points are available as well. So the GT3 cars, all of them with between most of them 550 and 600 brake horsepower, some of them over 700 brake horsepower in the case on the McLarens, all equalised with the balance of performance, and more brands in the championship, more different brands than we've had since the 1980s in this championship. So it's fantastic to see there in the foreground. You can see Maurice Skuring's car, the Porsche Junior driver, part of the Manthey team, the Porsche Junior section of the team. It's the same team, Manthey effectively running 3 cars, and the Dutch driver in his first season of the championship. So we are all set to go. I'll talk you through the championship situation in a moment, but let's introduce ourselves first. My name's Chris Hartley, and up here in the commentary box right next to me, it's good morning to Brian Oliver.
Morning, Chris. Morning, everybody, wherever you're joining us around the world. I hope you've had a great summer break, and hope you're ready for the second half of the season after that thriller at the Nürburgring. Feels like quite a long time ago, so really good to get back racing. And as Chris has already mentioned, the championship is so tight at the moment. I mean, mathematically, everybody is still in with a chance at the championship. Everybody's still in it. Realistically, it's probably the top half of the table, but it is incredibly close. And we were talking this morning, just saying who's going to win the championship, and we still don't know. Of course, the advantage is with Lucas Auer at the moment. He seems to be the man on a roll, but keep an eye on Jordan Pepper and Thomas Breining. He's looking over his shoulder because they are coming. This important free practice session, the first of 2 today, the opportunity to scrub in the tyres, the opportunity to get that setup on the car.
The cars heading out onto the circuit. Championship-wise then, two Austrians at the top of the championship table. Lucas Auer, who's been the championship leader since the very first race of the season, which he got pole position for and won the race at the season opener at Oschersleben. He won at the Lausitzring as well, a circuit where he's got a magnificent record of the second weekend of the season. He's been in the top 10 in every single race so far. A solid but slightly unspectacular weekend at the Nürburgring, though, with the 6th and an 8th, means that Lucas's advantage has dwindled somewhat. The driver that's on fire at the moment and absolutely breathing down his neck is Thomas Preining, a champion of 2 years ago, the Austrian in the Grello, the green and yellow Manthey EMA Porsche. He has had 3 consecutive podium finishes now, 3rd, 2nd and 1st in the last 3 races if you go back to Zandvoort. That followed his first 2 retirements since the end of the 2022 season, having gone on a streak of 35 consecutive point-scoring finishes. He had back-to-back retirements, one in race 2 at the Lausitzring, one in race 1 the following weekend at Zandvoort. But he's bounced back brilliantly, went from 9th to 2nd in the championship table over the Nürburgring weekend. So there he is, only 7 points back on the driver you're looking at now, carrying one of our onboard cameras. That's the championship leader, Lugi Auer, former championship runner-up, looking for his first title. Thomas Preining looking for his second title, just 7 points behind. And also 7 points behind is Jordan Pepper, who picked up his maiden victory last time out in what's his first full season of DTM. Jordan Pepper with a win and then a 9th at the Nürburgring last time out. 3rd in the championship, tied on points with Thomas Preining. But if drivers are tied on points, you look at who's got the most number of wins. They've both got a win each. Who's got the most number of seconds is the next criteria. They've both got a 2nd place finish each. But Thomas Preining has more 3rd place finishes. He's got 2 of them. Jordan hasn't had a 3rd so far this season. So Thomas technically 2nd in the championship, but they're on exactly the same points. And only 1 point behind them, as you saw from the graphic, having his best season so far, Jack Aitken. He has had 1 win this season at the Lausitzring in the Ferrari, and the British driver 2nd place and 5th in the 2 races at Nürburgring last time out, just missing out on the win to Thomas Preining. So the Emil Frey Racing driver on 101 points, and also on 101 points, Maro Engel, Mr. Consistent, who has had now 10 podium finishes from the last 24 races, if you look back to the start of the 2024 season. So he is, they had 2 podiums here last year as well. It's just gone through Shot Maro. So Maro Engel in the Mercedes for Winwood Racing. Winwood, who are leading the team's championship this year at the moment, and he's got 101 points, so 8 points between the top 5 in the championship. René Rast is 6th, Juganon 7th, and Nguyen has had 2 wins, 8th. Marco Wittmann, who was on the podium here last year, and he's one of only 2 drivers in the field that's had more than 1 win at this circuit in DTM. He's had 2 wins here. René Rast, his teammates, had 3. Marco's 9th of the championship. Thierry Vermeulen with his 2nd career podium in DTM. Pole position at the Nürburgring, finished 3rd in race 2, and he moved up into the top 10 in the championship. So that's the scenario. It's almost dead level, isn't it, between the front runners in the championship? So kind of start again for the second half of the season. Here at the Nürburgring, just to say as well, in terms of tyres, you get 3 sets of new tyres. Some circuits you get 4, some circuits you get 3. But for race days, 3 sets of new Pirelli slick tyres, which have to last 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. For the practice sessions, you do get an additional set of new tyres as well, but you can only use them in one of the practice sessions, or 2 of the practice sessions, but you have to give them back at the end of Friday, and you get 2 sets of previously nominated tyres, used tyres as well. So with only 1 set of fresh boots to use across these 2 free practice sessions, the times will always be a little bit slower than you're going to get in qualifying. Plus, of course, we don't know what fuel loads they're all running, because it's not just about trying to get a car which is quick over 1 lap, is it? It's about the long distance pace.
Yes, consistency is absolutely everything, and having a car that will last and be consistent throughout the entire race. We're going to have one eye very much on the Mustangs. They were very much the cars to beat here when the GT Masters were here back 2nd week of July, part of the Truck Grand Prix. The 2 Mustangs in the GT Masters locked out the front row in both races and went on to win the 2nd race of the weekend as well. So it's good to see the Mustangs, of course, fielded by HRT Racing, very much gathering data and information as this season progresses. Their first year in the Mustang, having switched from Mercedes AMG. But a lot of eyes on them because a lot of people sitting up and taking notice of them at the GT Masters event. It's this session now where they'll be looking for that perfect setup, looking for consistency, also scrubbing in the tyres, and looking for consistency across the entire weekend. Of course, non-finishes really hurt in the DTM. The drivers that are featuring at the top are the ones that consistently score points. Thomas Preining must be looking back at those 2 non-finishes he had earlier in the season and just be thinking about, well, if it weren't for those, I would potentially be quite a long way ahead in this championship.
Yes, indeed. So he lost that record. It's a record that he sets the most consecutive point-scoring finishes in DTM. The driver that's on the long streak at the moment, I don't think many people will be massively surprised to hear, is Maro Engel. He's had 25 consecutive point-scoring finishes now, so he's slowly but surely catching up to that record of Thomas Preining. But he could move ahead of Ricardo Feller, because Thomas and Ricardo for a long time had this streak all the way through the 2024 season, and for Ricardo, part of the 25 season as well, of being in the points every time. And he had 26 consecutive point scoring finishes, so Maro could move ahead of that. And we see Lucas Auer about to complete his first lap in the session now. Jordan Pepper has gone top of the times for the time being. Jugun on second, and then Luca Engstler in third place. Lucas Auer goes ninth with that to go on board now with the Austrian. So 1:27.843, just to give you some context of what sort of times we should be looking for, as Jordan Pepper does the absolute best first sector. So free practice 1 last year, very similar conditions. It's 21 degrees now. It's 22 degrees for free practice 2 last year. The track temperature at the moment is 21 degrees. It was a bit warmer, the track temperature last year. I think the session was a bit later in the morning, 25 degrees, but it's not dissimilar. And last year, Angel Gouin was quickest in free practice 1 with a 1:26.6, so still about 0.8 of a second away from that. Maro Engel did a 1:26.0 in free practice 2 when it was hotter in the afternoon. And then pole position for race 1 last year, Kelvin van der Linde did a 1:25.3.
6 fastest lap, 27.8.
Arjun Maini on team radio. There is the Mustang. And Brian, that team, HRT, one of the local teams based just outside the circuit, along with Manthey, they are making great strides with this Ford Mustang, aren't they? With Arjun picking up, as he goes, very much on the edge there, and a little bit over it on the way through the penultimate corner here, turn 10, just kicking up the dust. That car, with Arjun Maini aboard, a great 5th place finish at the Nürburgring, the best of the season so far.
Arjun seems to be really at home in that Mustang. He seems to have really almost brought him alive. I mean, he was very good in the Mercedes. It's great because the Mustang, they were saying this week that they've ditched the air conditioning in that car to save weight. So it's about 15 kilos, and they put little impellers on the car to try and keep the driver cool. Arjun says, well, I don't need to keep cool. I come from India. I'm used to the heat. But he is loving that Mustang. And he seems like a man on a mission. And I don't think it's going to be too long before we see him stood on the podium having driven one of those HRT Mustangs. I've already mentioned that they were really strong at the GT Masters weekend here at the Nürburgring. And Arjun was in the garage watching the progress as we ride on board with another of the Mustangs, Fabio Scherer. He's another driver who's due a good result. Had a lot of bad luck and a bit of an encounter with the barrier at the Nürburgring, which saw him unable to start one of the races. But surely it's not going to be too long before we see him troubling the front runners as well.
Yeah, there are 2 non-starts this year, and one of them due to that crash he had in qualifying at the Nürburgring. He's had a couple of retirements as well when he's been going well. He has been picking up lots and lots of positions on opening laps when qualifying hasn't gone quite so well. He's been rocketing up the order on a couple of occasions. He's pulled loads of moves off in the first couple of laps of a race, and something's gone wrong later in the race with the car itself. But he's up there in 6th place. Fabio's only had 1 season of DTM. He was last involved in the DTM in the very last season of the Class 1 era, so he has perhaps less GT experience than some of the other drivers around him, having then raced in more recent years in things like Porsche Super Cup, but more concentrating on endurance racing in LMP2 and the World Endurance Championship. Fabio in the white Mustang there. And he famously was a class winner at Le Mans in the LMP2 2 years ago in 2023. That's great in itself, but the story is he did it with a broken foot because during one of the pit stops he got run over by another car and hobbled around for the majority of the race. Ended up finding out that he'd broken 3 bones in his heel when he went to the doctors the next day, but he hid it from everybody. He wouldn't have been allowed to race otherwise, and kept getting in and out of the car, which was the hardest bit. It was the braking foot as well, which made it very difficult, but a fantastic effort from him to win the category. So good to see him going well here as Jordan Pepper, who's quickest from Nicky Tim and Jules Gounon.
Talking of ankle injuries, did you know that Thomas Preining has been hobbling around with an ankle injury from several weeks ago? I did not know that. He carried it all the way through Nürburgring and Spa 24. He'd injured himself, and he has been struggling a little bit to get around. I think he's on the road to recovery now. It didn't slow him down at Nürburgring, though, did it?
No, he's got a mega record there, the Nürburgring, hasn't he? He's 3 wins around there now, got his first ever win in the championship there. And there's a cool sight looking into the eyes of the 3-time champion, René Rast, who didn't have a fantastic weekend last time out at the Nürburgring. But as I say, of the current field, he's the driver that's had the most DTM wins around this place, with 3 to his name over the years. So René Rast will be looking to come back and get back into that top 5, top 6 of the championship fight if he can over the course of the weekend. So absolutely thuds over the curbs, and he watched the marks out as he makes his way through the chicane. The previous session to this was a Porsche practice session for the Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland. There were lots of track limits warnings and laps taken away through turns 9 and 10, which is the Vidal chicane, which is at the end of the back straight. As you see, René Rast now from the drone going over the start-finish line. This lap 3.629 kilometres long. Hit the brakes down to this very tight. Look how tight it is. That turn 1, Ravenol-Esquire, right and left. Off the circuit he goes. There's the penalty zone, which you have to go through if you're in the bad books during the course of the race. Through the AMG Arena section now, through turns 10 and turns 2 and 3 in second, then third gear, and then you go into the right and start to build the speed up. Still second gear, but 125 kilometres an hour. That's where you've got to be careful not to run too wide and go all 4 wheels over the white lines as well, which he does do there at René Rast. And this is where they turn off the Grand Prix circuit next up when they go down through into turn 5.
Pepper, and best Mercedes is Gounon, 27-4. Copy that.
Maro Engels, race engineer, giving him an update. Maro sending a very relaxed as always. As I say, 2 podiums here last year. Actually got a pole position in qualifying last year, but couldn't quite manage to convert it into a race win. So he's had all these podiums in the last season and a half, but it's been a while since he had his first his most recent race victory in the championship.
But he is Mr. Consistency, isn't he? He is always there. And you look back at his results this year, looking back from Nürburgring, 4th, 3rd, 5th, 9th, 5th, 2nd, 12th, 3rd. I mean, very, very consistent. Just going back to the subject of lap times and Mustangs, for the GT Masters qualifying, which was similar conditions, temperatures to today. Of course, who knows what it's going to be tomorrow. But looking at their qualifying session, qualifying 2 at the Truck Grand Prix, and it was Finn Wiebelhaus who was qualifying the HRT Mustang, a lap time of 1:25.294, which shows you how much pace there is in that. Of course, the GT Masters cars are identical to a DTM car, so that's an interesting benchmark that was set down by Wiebelhaus on that weekend.
Absolutely. Right, Timo Glock in a McLaren. Nothing unusual about that. That's what he's been driving all season, isn't it? Well, yes, sort of, because he's not in the McLaren that he's been racing up until this point. So Dell Motorsport will run the McLarens for this season. Timo Glock joining the team. Ben Durr coming back for his 2nd season. Ben had a brand new McLaren for the season, which he's raced up until this point. Timo has been racing the car that Ben raced last year. We started off with Clement Schmidt's car, then turned to the Ben Durr car from last year. It just hasn't worked for him for whatever reason. They've ordered a new McLaren, a brand new McLaren. They hoped it would be here in time for this weekend. It's not going to be, and at the earliest is going to be delivered at the end of August, so it might not be ready for the next round at Sachsenring either, but should potentially be available for the final 2 weekends. So they've done a car swap because they're determined to try and figure out what the issue is. The car's been back to Woking, to McLaren headquarters. stripped it down completely. They've had, for the last 2 weekends, representatives of McLaren here to try and figure out why Timo's car hasn't been performing, has been difficult to drive. So occasionally the pace is there and he gets some good lap times in, but it's difficult to keep the momentum going and keep several quick laps with the car. It's very unpredictable to drive, and Timo's really been struggling with the car. Now, earlier in the season, they swapped cars in a pre-season test, and Timo went into Ben Durr's car and went half a second a lap quicker immediately, and Ben went into Timo's car and went half a second a lap slower, as we get team radio.
Been better till now, feeling a bit unpredictable. The balance of the car is actually not really nice. Quite unpredictable as well.
Well, that ties in nicely. Different driver, different car, but Ricardo fella talking about a car that's unpredictable and the balance isn't nice. And that's the issue that Timo Glock has had with the McLaren. So they swapped cars for pre-season test. Timo went half a second quicker, Ben went half a second slower to say, well, there is a difference between the cars. So his new McLaren isn't available. So they've swapped cars for this weekend, for the whole weekend. So Timo is now driving the car that Ben has been racing so far this season, and vice versa. So we'll see what impact that has, but it really has been a frustrating start to the season on his return to DTM, hasn't it, for Timo? He just hasn't had the car underneath him to be able to show what he can do.
Yeah, you've got a feel for him. It has been a struggle. He's been very frustrated by the level of contact in the racing as well. But I'd say 10 out of 10 to Durr Motorsport, and especially to Ben Durr, actually, because he has very willingly and openly said, OK, I will take the car that is believed to be slower. Rainer Durr, the team boss, he says, you know, our team and Ben stand for loyalty, fairness, and a sporting spirit that transcends individual interests. And they aim to create transparency, and that's exactly what they're doing here. So Timo Glock, to a degree, well, he says no pressure here because I'm just out here to extract what there is out of the car. But certainly a lot of eyes are on them this weekend to see how Ben gets on with that car that is perceived to be quite a lot slower. And I should think they'll be really pleased when that new car does arrive from McLaren, and they can actually put all this behind them, really.
As long as it's quick.
As long as it's quick, indeed, yes.
Yeah, they've said, look, the individual results are not important to us as a team. It's how we go forward as a team, and we need to understand and we need to learn. So, well, at the moment, they're both going all right. 9th place for Timo Glock and 10th place for Ben Durr. It's the second season where they've, you can see them progressing. You can see Ben progressing. He hadn't actually got a lot of sprint race GT3 experience underneath his belt before he came into the championship last year. Other than GT experience around the Nordschleife, he hadn't got any of this level of experience, and he started to become a consistent point scorer towards the end of last season. He's transformed this year. He's been a real front runner on most weekends. Timo Glock has brought with him several experienced spots as well to help bring the team forward. So he's brought Kevin Morocco's joined the team. He was Timo Glock's race engineer when Timo was racing in Formula 2, and he's brought the chief engineer now, Richard Selwyn, who worked with Timo Glock when he won his GP2 championship title all the way back 18 years ago in 2007. Timo won the GP2 championship, which was the forerunner to F2. The year after, a certain Lewis Hamilton won it, and of course then went on to form his own Formula 1 career. Right, Jules Gounon, he in his first full season of the championship, but he's won pretty much every championship he's ever taken part in, and he's on that fringe, isn't he? He's just behind that group of 5 that are within 8 points of each other, 7th in the championship, but both you and I, Brian, feel that a win is on the cards for Jules. If he can get a win, get a good weekend here this weekend, he'll be in the fight as well.
Yeah, I think to be 7th place and 21 points off the lead on your debut season in DTM, anybody else would be happy with it. Jules is thoroughly grumpy about it because he really believes that he should be at the top, and I believe he should be at the top. He's had a bit of bad luck, has been involved in a few bits and pieces he really didn't need to be involved in, as we see Jack Aitken having a bit of a wild ride around the turn, the penultimate turn of the circuit. But yeah, Jules Gounon, he's still one of my tips for the championship, wishing to put too much of a curse on him, and it is surely a matter of time before we see him on the top step of the podium. We got a 2nd place on his debut weekend at Oschersleben. and he's had a third place at the Lausitz Ring as well, but he's pretty disappointed with that, and he's definitely one to keep an eye on in the second half of the season.
So we're watching Jack Aitken, who's currently quickest in the session in the Emil Frey Ferrari, 1 minute 26.555, his third season in the championship. Got a win early on in his debut season at the Lausitz Ring. Very hot race weekend that was, and he got a win there. Got a pole, got a win at the Lausitz Ring on his way to what was an inconsistent season. Emil Frey were new to the championship that year as well, and so was the 296 Ferrari. So he finished 14th overall in that first season. Last season, a step forward, still some inconsistencies, but 8th overall, 3 wins last year, as much as anybody else, Oschersleben, Zandvoort and the Saxon Ring, and now 4th in the championship as Luca Exler now goes a tad wide, finds the limits, finds the gravel trap and slows his exit speed down. Let's talk about Lamborghini drivers briefly, and 2 of them specifically. You're looking at Luca Exler, who in the GT World Challenge races alongside Jordan Pepper, and they picked up their 2nd win of the season last week at Magny Corsa. They, who both race for the Grasser team in GT World Challenge as well, having a really good time of it at the moment. Luca didn't have a spectacular weekend DTM-wise at the Norris Ring, but they're going well. And Jordan Pepper, he's just on fire at the moment, isn't he? So he did what Nicky Tim did last year, in that he won the Spa 24-hour race. Then the next weekend, he got his maiden victory in the DTM at the Norris Ring. And then he's followed that up with another win in GT World Challenge alongside Luca Exler.
I tell you what, whoever wins Spa 24 next year, I'm going down the betting shop and putting money on them for Norris Ring. But yeah, Jordan Pepper, he's loving his year in GT3 racing, isn't he? And he, along with Luca Exler, what a great combination. 2 great guys, 2 great drivers, and they are absolutely loving it. As you say, Magny Corps taking that win for Grasser Racing. Jordan, happy birthday to him for the 31st of July. He spent 18 hours of it at Heathrow Airport. Well, there's a familiar sensation to all of us who travel around the world. And then to add insult to injury, he finally got to France, where he was due to be heading to Magny Corps, and he'd arrived so late he missed the pickup for his hire car, so he had to have a night in Paris as well. So what a way to spend your birthday, and welcome to Heathrow Airport there, Jordan. You won't be doing that again in a hurry, will you?
Made up for on Sunday.
He certainly made up for on Sunday. The memories of that were passed away, and yeah, but Jordan, I mean, he's made an impact here at DTM when he arrived. Of course, he was leading the championship after the first round, took that win at the Norris Ring, winning Spa 24, and you think, well, what next? Well, he'll tell you what next. He says, I've got my eyes on the DTM championship.
Yeah, he said, I'm not here to make the numbers out. I'm here very specifically to try and win the championship. Yeah, first season in DTM, but he's vastly experienced in GT racing as well. So he and Gottfried Grasser's team going great guns, aren't they, at the moment. 2 Austrian drivers top 2 in the championship. An Austrian team has their driver 3rd in the championship, the South African Jordan Pepper. And hopefully Luca Exler can have his results pick up a little bit as well after some misfortunes this year. We've been looking at Marco Wittmann, who has got a victory, 2 victories here. Actually, in the years that he won the championship, 2014 and 2016, he got race wins here in the DTM. He's had 8 third-place finishes here as well, including 1 last year. So he's got a great record around this place. One of the most experienced DTM drivers out there, of course. And Marco currently 6th quickest. He is the best of the BMW drivers. So Jack Aitken, who's gone into the pits now, Ferrari, fastest, 126.555. Half a second quicker than Jordan Pepper in the Lamborghini with a 127.061. A 127.1 for Ben Green in the Ferrari, 3rd. Maro Engel in the Mercedes, 127.3. 4th, also 127.3, just 16 thousandths slower than Engel. He's Nicky Tim with 5th place in the Abt Lamborghini, and Marco Wittmann currently rounding out the top 6. Glock, Gunon, Exler and Feller also in the top 10. For Nicky Tim and Abt, at least, things slightly going in the right direction. Now, I know the racing was a nightmare for Abt at the Norris Ring, and both of them got involved in an incident, as did Marco Wittmann, which saw both Abt cars failing to finish the race. But Nicky qualified on the front row at the Norris Ring. He got himself, I know the weather was a factor, but he got himself Abt's first Lamborghini DTM podium at Zandvoort, and he's looking good here as well, Nicky Tim. So he seems at the moment to be clicking maybe a little bit better than his illustrious teammates, Mirko Bortolotti with Cole. Mirko did have a very good 6th place finish from a lowly grid as well.
It was a horrible weekend, wasn't it, for Abt? It was the first time they had not scored points in 63 DTM races at the Nürburgring. And Nicky Tim had that encounter, we'll put it that way, with Mauro Engel that saw him what he believed robbed of points finish. He did mention at the end of the weekend what goes around comes around in reference to Mauro Engel. But I think, just a lot of frustration in the team and for Mirko Bortolotti as well. Abt have brought in Nicky Tim's former engineer from SSR, Marcel Schmidt, turned up at the Nürburgring. He was also Sheldon van der Linde's engineer in 2022 and 23. So just looking for that little bit of extra expertise like you need it at Abt, but certainly just pulling on every area they can to try and get that little bit of extra performance. So certainly Mirko Bortolotti has been very frustrated in the first half of the season and looking to turn it all around.
Looking at Gilles Magnus now, and he, along with his teammate Nicolas Bart, both have scored points in DTM now. So that means the whole field have managed to score points in this year's championship, which is a fairly rare thing to achieve that already halfway through the season. So it shows you how open it has been in the championship. And Nicolas Bart was pretty sensational in qualifying at the Nürburgring as well. I thought he was going to start on the front row of the grid for one of the races, but he qualified in the top 6 in the other. He got kicked out of one of the qualifying sessions in the end, but he scored his first points, and Magnus was a point scorer as well. So like the HRT team with the Ford Mustang, perhaps having more pace around the tight, twisty confines of the Nürburgring street circuit than we thought they might have, because they're two of the longest wheelbase cars, which are not great at going through tight hairpins.
Yes, and when we chatted to the boss at Come To You Racing at the beginning of the season, he said exactly this is what's going to happen. They wanted to get Oschersleben out of the way, and he just said we're going to be picking up pace, learning as we go, as the season goes on, and that's exactly what's happening. We're seeing them improve from one event to the next. Certainly the Nürburgring seemed to suit the mighty Aston Martin, and but they just look, just as a whole, to be getting it, really learning the ropes in DTM for Come To You Racing. Of course, a team that I kind of associate more with TCR Racing from the past, and now into the world of GT3, very successful in other championships as well. But again, another of the teams is not going to be too long before they're starting to trouble the top of the points scorers in races.
Yeah, it's good to see them making progress here with his best qualifying and best race results so far this season. Both come get the Nürburgring, both 12th places. And Francois Verbiste, who runs the team, Brian and I had a good long chat with him at the season opener at Oschersleben, and he and the team very firmly have their feet planted on the ground. There's no unrealistic expectations from that team. They know, look, we're learning all the time. It's even things like learning the little rules of where we're meant to be, when we're meant to be, where we're supposed to be. And they got caught out a couple of times by things like that. But it's all part of learning the fabric, learning the performance pit stops as well, because, say, their background is, well, originally in Fun Cup racing, but then moving to TCR Racing, running Audis, no pit stops to worry about there, along that you should have scheduled into a race. And then they've only had 2 seasons of running in endurance racing, and only one last year with Aston Martins, and they're a very different type of pit stop than you get in DTM, but they're making good progress, and the car looking more and more competitive. A different kettle of fish than it was, as you say, at Oschersleben, which is a circuit that was never that well suited to them. And it's good to see Nicolas Bart performing well as well. Gilles Magnus, a Gold Cup class champion in last year's GT World Challenge, had 6 class wins, albeit not in an Aston but in an Audi R8. Right, back to McLaren's, back to Timo Glock, 7th place. He's liking this car, I reckon.
Yes.
I know it's only free practice, but 1:27.4 is a good lap time.
Yes, so he's like, told you so. In 7th place at the moment, and certainly showing a good pace as well. Ben Dur's not so bad, is he? In 11th at the moment, at 1:27.6. Good to see Ben Green jumping up into 3rd place as well in the Ferrari. He's due a pretty good result anytime soon. He is about half a second off his stablemate Jack Aitken, Jordan Pepper, who seems to be very much troubling the top of the time time screens for a lot of the time. Certainly on the Friday at Nürburgring, nobody could live with Jordan Pepper apart from Max Powell in the closing seconds of that session. But yes, Ben Green up there in the Ferrari, Thierry Vermeulen in the third of the Ferraris, down in 21st place at the moment. I say the times are very much for reference only. We don't know what programs they're running. We've got this 24 minutes of this still remaining and another free practice session. There's a lot of setup work to do, finding the limits, scrubbing in tyres. Just a quick moment, you can see that structure in the background. That's the roller coaster, which the Nürburgring is quite famous for. Looks like they're taking it down. It was large sections of it have been cut up in the car park when we came in this morning. So maybe that iconic piece of the landscape is shortly going to disappear.
Yeah, it ran very briefly, and then structurally it wasn't like it didn't work properly, so they quickly closed it down. But the structure has remained there ever since for a couple of decades now, isn't it? It's been there. The back of the main grandstand overlooking the start-finish line, essentially there's a shopping mall there, and it ran through that at one point. That was the idea, but it looks like they're dismantling it, which is a bit sad in a way.
Yeah, it really is.
Because it's, although it was never really used properly, it's, as you say, it's one of the landmarks here at the Nürburgring, isn't it? So Timo Glock continues. Like you say, he's been involved in some robust incidents in the racing, which he hasn't been best pleased with, but big part of the issue for that is that he's been stuck towards the back end of the grid because hasn't been able to qualify the car well, and that's where things do get a bit more robust, and you do have to try and fight your way through, and you get involved in other people's incidents. And he has averaged in qualifying only 20th place, so he's been towards the back. His best qualifier is actually last time at the Nürburgring 17th, but that was nothing to write home about. Whereas Ben Durr has been in the top 10 4 times in qualifying this year and has averaged 12th place, so that's been the difference. Ben's having then going on to get some good point scoring finishes in races and top 10 finishes a couple of times, and Timo's getting involved in battles, but maybe it'll change. But just adjusting his seatbelts there and having a glance in the mirrors, having just a moment as he just does 260 kilometres an hour
yes.
Flat out down the straight, looking super relaxed as our championship leader, Lucas Auer.
Very chilled indeed. Yes, the back of the grid is nicknamed the carbon fibre zone for very good reason, and when you qualify there, you know you're going to be scrapping hard. Particularly here into that turn 1, in the braking point, it's turn 1, there's a bit of a bump on the braking point. It's also quite downhill as they do an almost 180 back round to turn 2, and the first lap often very, very tricky here at the Nürburgring, and if you're towards the back or even in the middle of the pack, you are in a much higher chance of getting involved in some kind of incident that will see you spat out into the gravel trap. Certainly Lucas Auer will be hoping to be qualifying near the front. He has been very, very consistent this year. Of course, he leads the championship. He's out there at the moment. Just looking to see where he is. He's in 22nd out of 24 runners at 128.027. But setting personal bests in Sector 1 and Sector 2. So expect this is going to see him moving up the order. This looks like a bit of a push lap as he heads in towards turn 10 and into 11 at the moment, out onto the pit straight. So surely this will be an improvement on the 128.027, and it is a 127.640. Moves him up into 13th place.
Yeah, but if he finds 0.2 of a second, which is much, he'd be in the top 6. It's very compact, actually. There's less than a second covering the top 10. Mirko Bortolotti was just outside the top 10. He's just gone past the commentary box window in the Lamborghini, and the reigning champion has gone quicker, 6th fastest. So he and his teammate Nicky Tim, maybe things are looking a bit up for them. 5th for Tim, 6th now for Bortolotti. Exactly the same lap time as well. 1:27.373 seconds for both drivers. You couldn't do that if you tried, could you? Nicky Tim goes past the commentary box window, goes over the line, but doesn't go as quickly on that lap. I think it was a build-up lap for him. Mirko has been saying the main issue that we're finding with the car is on the straights. We're missing, here he is on screen now, straight line speed has been the issue, and even compared to other Lamborghinis. Now, he says that's not necessarily related to the engine and the pace. It could be how you're coming off the corners onto the straight and you're not getting up to top speeds quickly enough. But Abt are one of the top teams, have been the most established team on the grid in terms of DTM. They spent 25 years, remember, running Audis in the championship. and they only switched to Lamborghini this year. They have run 3 years running now a Lamborghini in the Nürburgring 24-hour race, but that's a different kettle of fish. But it looks like maybe a much more positive start to the weekend than we've seen before. And Mirko has done 2 personal best sector times now and is about, I think, to go even quicker on this lap as long as that last sector holds up. And it's a 127.381. It's not, but that's 2 laps now, which is also impressive and gives you hope. 2 laps within 0.008 of a second of each other.
I can't remember the last time I saw 2 teammates set identical times down to the last 1,000th of a second. I thought Bortolotti was going to ruin that nice little pattern there for one moment, but they still remain in 5th and 6th. Their first year, as you say, with the Lamborghini Huracan. Of course, next year, the Temerario will be on the scene. Now, whether they've produced enough of them for them to appear in DTM remains to be seen. There's a lot of anticipation for the Temerario, but it finally broke cover at the Goodwood Festival of Speed, and apparently it's performing a lot better than expected. Should be bad news for everybody else. Of course, Lamborghini developed it on their own, as opposed to the Huracan, which was developed in collaboration with Audi. There's a 6-way damper system instead of a 4-way, and a twin turbo rather than naturally aspirated. So something quite different, and I'm quite excited to see the Temerario. I really hope we're going to see it next year. Fingers crossed. They certainly, Lamborghini have said, we do not want both the Temerario and the Huracan in the same series. We want either one or the other.
Yeah, the team has said to me that it's a case of can they produce enough for all the teams that want the new car, and it might even be the case that maybe not from what you've said there, but it could be that, you know, a team only has one new car and then one Huracan that they're running as well. So we'll see. But it would be the 3rd turbo-powered car in the series if we all stay as we are next year, with BMWs and Ferraris being the 2 turbo-powered cars at the moment. As you say, switching from normally aspirated. On board with Nicolas Abt there, who picked up his first championship points in a very impressive top 6 qualifying at the Nürburgring. The Belgian driver, and then the other come to you racing Aston Martin, carrying one of our onboard cameras this weekend, and he is going to celebrate his 24th birthday tomorrow on the first race day. So it's his birthday weekend, so he has a good one here. And at the moment, Gilles Magnus's teammate is in the pits, is in 14th place with the 127.6. So tight. We've got 5 drivers in the 127.6s. And then you've got just a fraction away from him, 127.8, the driver you're looking at now, Nicolas Abt. But because it's so compact, he's only 1.2 seconds away from the fastest time of the session, set by Jack Aitken. He's only 0.7 of a second away from being 2nd quickest in the session, yet, because it's so competitive out there, he's 20th at the moment.
It's interesting that Jack is still the only one into the 26s at the moment, but as we've said numerous times, we're not paying too much attention to the times, because we can already see it. Thomas Preining's in 19th, Thierry Vermeulen in 22nd, René Rast 23rd, Maurice Schuring 24th. They're all drivers that would certainly be expecting to be a bit quicker than that. So I think there's a lot of scrubbing in, a lot of setup work going on at the moment. But still, a 126.5 for Jack Aitken. He'd be pretty happy with that, I should think.
Nicolas Abt about to come past the commentary box over the line, so 128.2 second lap. That one was very close to his absolute best, which is also in that the mid 127 bracket. So Nicolas Abt on a longer run here, it seems. Like Luca Engstler, his background is in TCR racing, coming up through TCR. So Luca was a multiple TCR champion in front-wheel drive touring cars, won the TCR Europe Championship, and Nicola finished as a race winner in that championship 5 years ago now. Finished 3rd overall in the title race, got a race win that season, and having his first season of DTM. This then is one of the onboard cameras that we got on the driver that's 2nd in the championship, the 2023 DTM champion, Thomas Preining, the form driver, 3rd, 2nd, 1st the last 3 races. Picked up his 3rd Norris Ring race win, just ahead of Jack Aitken, and looks like he's having a break from the session for now, because as you can see, the car is being wheeled back into the garage by the Manthey EMA squad, who are one of the front runners in the pit stop challenge. They're 4th at the moment, but the fastest 3 pit stops in each race are awarded points, and Manthey are normally one of those very quick teams in terms of the pit stops.
boy, were they good at the Nürburgring, and I think it's fair to say that was a team win in race 2 at the Nürburgring for Thomas Preining. I mean, it was the team that turned him around so quickly in both of their stops in that second race of the weekend. I was just down at Porsche just prior to this free practice session, actually, where they launched the new car, the new Evo package for 2026, the Porsche 911 GT3R. Really interesting upgrades aerodynamically, but they're not looking to make the car necessarily quicker. They're looking for it to be more consistent. It's interesting, Sebastian Goltz, the Porsche GT3 director, he said, going quicker is not always what we're looking for, because of course the BOP will peg cars back to make sure they're level. It's about consistency. The faster you go for longer, the faster you'll be at the end. And that's a really interesting approach, because you think, well, with the BOP, what is the point in all of these new models coming out and all of these upgrades? And it's about making the car more consistent across a race that's nearly an hour long, rather than just being outright quick.
Yeah, I think there's potentially Evo package coming for the Ferrari as well. For the Porsche, they don't normally do Evo upgrades. They haven't done one since 2013. They normally just update the car completely. But an Evo package will come on the Porsches for next year, and we'll have just tweaks, just slight upgrades. It's the same car, just slightly redeveloped, essentially.
Yeah.
It's going to have some small aerodynamic changes, as you say, to achieve better consistency. They're looking at the front axle is an area they're going to concentrate on, particularly on bumpy circuits where it's perhaps struggled a little bit relative to where they want the car to be, and looking at pitch sensitivity, which is how well the car turns in, essentially, especially on a bumpy circuit. So trying to make it more predictable under braking, under acceleration as well. Some changes to the steering wheel, because they're saying, you know, these cars are getting heavier and heavier. They're getting more and more load put through the steering wheel, more pace in the cars as well. So apart from that, just some adjustments to the airflow regarding a bit of durability and better cooling to certain components in the car. So just tweaks coming up, like we had the tweaks on the BMW for this year. For Mercedes, they are looking at introducing a new model, but it's got to go on sale first to the markets. These cars have to be based on production cars, essentially, and that looks unlikely, I think, to be 2026 now, more likely 2027, at least for it to become a customer-built car. It might even be 2028 before they get the new Mercedes out on the track.
Yeah, I think 28 is probably the realistic one, but we've had little glimpses of it. It looks very curvy and quite sexy, if a car could be such a thing.
Of course it can.
Of course it can. So yeah, it's really nice to see, and great that all of the manufacturers just pushing forwards with Evos, with new models, keeps it exciting, and really something to look forward to. I'm kind of hoping that one day soon we're going to see a Corvette back on the grid. We certainly see a lot in GT Masters. We can see one of those in DTM as well.
Got a glimpse of Ben Green, who had his best result so far at the Nürburgring with 6th place, the British driver. He's going well at the moment as well, 7th in the session. His teammate Jack Aitken fastest. We haven't seen much of the other Ferrari, with Thierry Vermeulen having got his first podium of the season at Nürburgring as well. It was a good weekend for Emil Frey, wasn't it? Thierry is last at the moment. He's on his first proper lap of the session, though, I think. So he's done a 1:27.9. He did a slow lap last time around, but he's now starting to pull the pin a bit as well. So Vermeulen's been a little bit discreet in this session, but we'll think we'll see more of him shortly. So we ride on board then with Luca Engstler attacking the curbs and really enjoying driving this Lamborghini. I think enjoying the relationship that he's got both in this championship and elsewhere with Jordan Pepper as well. Those two seem to get on well whenever you see them in the team area together or in the garages together. And 4th place at the moment for Luca Engstler. But look who's popped up to 2nd place, Ben Durr. Not meant to do that, Ben. You're in the car, which is not meant to be that good, but it could be, because they've stripped that car of Timo Glock right down, haven't they? And obviously Ben knows the car from last year, from driving it, but they cannot find anything wrong with it. And you think that if there was something specific, like a crack in the chassis or something like that, they would have found it by now. No two cars are the same. You can build them with exactly the same components, exactly the same people building them, exactly the same factory, but no two cars are the same. You don't go find that out when you go indoor karting, haven't you? They're all supposed to be the same, and they're all completely different to each other. And just little slight differences in the car can suit one driving style better than another. And it might be that that car just works better in Ben's driving style than it does for Timo, and vice versa. Timo's able to drive the other car pretty well.
Look at that.
Yeah, it's just
in sector 2.
Absolute best middle sector.
He's still not done, is he?
Yeah, I think Timo's not getting his car back now, is he?
I'll have this one, thank you very much.
I'll keep this for the rest of the season. Second quickest for Ben Durr. Impressive, 126.693 in the McLaren. That gets him within just over a tenth of a second.
A pretty strong lap, very good pace.
So say all of us.
Pretty strong lap, yeah. That's an understatement. And also an improvement for Jules Gounon up to third place, 126.774. Ahead of the fellow Mercedes of Maro Engel, who is fourth quickest, and the Winwood car. Luca Renks is down to fifth now, and Thierry Vermeulen, I said he was starting to pull the pin. He did. He went sixth quickest in the Ferrari, 126.990, and somebody else has just done a personal best lap to go seventh in the Mustang is Arjun Maini.
Arjun Maini coming for you.
Yeah.
Peace out at the moment. Watch out, everybody. Here comes Arjun, Mr. Cool at the wheel of that Mustang, which still makes the ground shake when it comes past. It's like a flipping NASCAR. It's wonderful. Great to watch. And you really need to get yourself down to one of these events if you haven't done before to witness these firsthand.
The other Mustang is last at the moment, but not for long, because Fabio Scherer is on a good lap here. He's only 3/10 down on the best first sector one time. He's only a 10th down on the best sector two time. So 2 PBs for the Swiss driver. He goes past the commentary box window and he shoots up the order, so he goes from 24th place all the way up to 11th with a 127.1.
Brilliant stuff. So lots still to keep an eye on here in this free practice session. We've only got 8.5 minutes remaining, just over. So drivers getting that set up, and Timo Glock's on team radio.
So, for me, it's gonna be the way how that must be the track somewhere very oily, because there are corners where you have grip and then there is no grip. Okay.
So different car, same problems for Timo Glock. No grip. Is it can't be the car? Is it a circuit? Is there some oil on there? He's just not started the session pretty well, but he's tumbled down the order as others have got quicker. He's down to 19th place now. His best laps are 127.4. His teammates done a 126.693. So 6 to 7 tenths of a second between them. Lucas Auer, by the way, has just popped himself up to 7th, and Tom Callender in a Mercedes improving as well. His teammate Landgraf up to 13th place.
Yeah, I think Timo's going to be very frustrated by that, as Lucas Auer is going to take a bit of avoiding action out of turn 10. Yeah, Timo, you can just hear the frustration in his voice as well. He's like, what have I got to do to find a car and a setup that actually works for me? But here's the man at the moment, his teammate in the car that Timo is in for the last couple of races. Ben Durr, personal best still, so he's still finding more pace in sector 1, certainly. He crosses the line, he's going to stay second at 127.006, so really good time from Ben Durr, but you just feel for Timo Glock, really just struggling to find out where that pace is.
On board with Fabio Scherer, he just improved his personal best lap time, but didn't move up the order, so he just shaved a few thousandths of a second off with a 127.099. He's 12th, because others have got quicker, including Thierry Vermeulen, who's just gone 4th quickest in the Ferrari. However, there's nothing between that mid-pack. So Arjun Maini, his teammate, is 8th. He's done a 127.008. You got Maini 8th, Gouin 9th, Pepper 10th, Green 11th, and Scherer 12th, and there's 91 thousandths of a second between all 5 of them.
It's incredible, isn't it? In fact, 1.296 separating the whole field. That is phenomenal for a free practice session,
yeah,
where they're not supposed to be trying that hard. That is incredible, isn't it?
Absolutely right. Not quite so quick on this lap for Fabio. The big V8 Ford Mustang, first time Ford have been involved in the championship since the mid-1990s, since 1994. We've got a bit of a treat this weekend because if you're here at the circuit, there are a number of legendary DTM cars from all eras that are going to be doing some demonstration laps. In amongst them, we've got the Abt Audi TT from 2000, which was raced by, as Thomas Preining pushes on, which was raced by double BTCC champion, British Touring Car champion James Thompson. And they had 2 wins here at the Nürburgring. Nürburgring. Their first wins for Abt came with the Audi TT. At the hands of Laurent Aiello here at the Nürburgring, where the team got their first ever DTM wins. They've had 15 wins here as we get a replay of riding the curbs, two wheels, then two wheels again, then sends him out wide. I think he's committed. That's fair to say. He's always committed, Thomas Preining. But one of the cars that we got out there, we've got Opel V8 Astras, Mercedes-Benz 190e belonging to Roland Ash as well, but we also got a Ford Mustang. So when Ford Mustangs were last involved, Gerd Ruck was the driver. He was a real crowd favourite because back in the 80s and mid-1990s when he raced, he was a privateer driver, and quite often used to take on the big guns. He had more than 100 DTM races with his own team running the Mustang. So an old Mustang from the old era is going to be here on track hopefully this weekend as well.
I tell you what, never mind highlights, never mind lunch or dinner. I'm going to sit out on the terraces when they're going round, because I think there will be a sight and indeed a sound to behold around this circuit, which is arguably the home of GT racing here at the Nürburgring, on the shadow of the Nordschleife. That's something I'm really looking forward to. Thomas Preining, curbs? What curbs? The suspension on these Porsches is built like a proverbial whatnot, and he is testing it to the extreme. Two wheels over the chicane, extracting all that he can. Of course, Thomas Preining, he's got a point to prove this weekend. He was still decidedly grumpy about the Nürburgring 24-hour race, as is indeed the case for Ian Cheng-Gun, and has already said, I want this one. I want to set the record straight. I want to win here at the Nürburgring this year. He's got two shots at it this weekend, and a brave man who bets against him.
Yeah, just to follow up on that, the team everybody thought they'd won the Nürburgring 24-hour race, and then there was a post-race penalty sometime after the race finished. Not anything to do with either of those two drivers, but the third driver, Kevin Estre, got involved overtaking a back mark, which resulted in a collision, and the back marking car getting into a fairly hefty crash, and the stewards decided that was the fault of Kevin Estre, and a penalty was applied, and they lost the win. Having thought they got it, they dropped down to second place, and one of the drivers that picked up the victory as a result of that was former DTM star, last year's championship runner-up, Kelvin van der Linde. But that's why Thomas Preining has got some bittersweet memories of this place from this year, the Nürburgring, well, specifically the Nordschleife.
Yes, and I think, well, I've never seen anybody so disappointed with a second place as I did Thomas Preining. There was an iconic photo of the winners celebrating, and Thomas in the background with his head in his hands on the rear wing of the Porsche. But yeah, I think that's an added incentive, like you need one to win around the Nürburgring. And okay, we're not on the Nordschleife, but it would be some kind of consolation if he could stand on the top step at least once this weekend.
The slight worry for Thomas Preining and for Manthey, EMA, and for Porsche is that this is one of the circuits where they haven't had the best record in recent years. They're very good pretty much everywhere, but Thomas hasn't won in the DTM around this place. He had a third 2 years ago in 2023. He wasn't on the podium last year, and he's never won around here. Now, Andrew Gu and his teammate has had a best of 8th here. That came last year. So he also had that big crash in the wet here with Christian Engelhardt going off in his Porsche, going straight on at turn 1 and then over the grass and then launching into the side of Andrew Gu and taking him out of the race. That was a very hefty accident which took them both out for the rest of the weekend. So it hasn't been that happy a hunting ground for Porsche in recent years. Having said all that, he is absolutely flying at the moment, Thomas Preining. 7th place now with that most recent lap.
The other of the Manthey cars, a Manthey Junior team car, Maurice Schering, currently in 24th place. He's been down there for most of the session. I don't know whether he's working on setup or tyre scrubbing or whatever, but 24th at the moment, so maybe a bit more to come from him. Ian Cheng-Gun, who took part in a rookie test in Formula E in Berlin a couple of weeks ago, so always exploring other avenues as well. He was doing that alongside Elia Weiss, the son of Claudia Hürtgen, another of the up-and-coming superstars that will be, a lot of these more senior drivers will be looking over their shoulders at these young chargers coming through the ranks.
Just looking at who's been busiest out there, Gilles Magnussen, you're watching now. He's gone up to 15th place with his most recent lap. He's done in this session 32 32 laps. He's been very busy. Sorry, it's Max Power's done 32 laps. He's only done 23, actually, Gilles Magnus. He's not been out there too much. So Power's done 32 laps, but then you're talking about Maurice Scuring perhaps focusing on longer runs. He's done 30 laps, so he's been very busy. He's been out there a lot. So maybe, as you say, focusing on the longer run distance. It's in FP2, which is your last chance before qualifying tomorrow morning, where they tend to really, you see some dummy practice runs, don't you, for qualifying, some dummy qualifying laps.
Yes, so this is kind of the last of the sessions where they're looking at those long distances. In theory, say, as you say, the second free practice session this afternoon, more of a focus on a qualifying setup. We start to get a clearer picture of who's going to be where. The clock strikes 0. That's a very quick 55 minutes, wasn't it? So free practice 1 is almost over. Anybody's on a lap at the moment as we look at Maurice Scuring into that tricky turn 1. Anyone who's on a lap at the moment, they can continue. That time will count. And practicing something he hopes he won't have to do over the weekend, passing through the penalty box. They need to rehearse it, because if you do pick up a penalty, you do have to pass through the penalty box. You do not want to be losing valuable time. You have to pass through that at no more than 50 kilometers an hour. It's equivalent to adding about 5 seconds onto a lap time. So good to practice it and hope they never have to put it into good use.
Yeah, you have to do it. We don't really want to ever be doing that in real life, do you? Yeah, that's where it is on the exit to turn 1. So there is the driver that starts like an absolute rocket ship here at Nürburgring, the Ferrari driver, the British driver. Jack Aitken with a 126.555 in the Ferrari 296, picking up where he left off. Really strong performance at the Nürburgring. Ben Durr in the McLaren, his nearest rival, surprising to, I think, a lot of people, maybe even to Ben, and definitely to Timo Glock, and definitely to the team. But a great effort from Ben Durr, who is Jules Gounon, third quickest with a 126.703 seconds. As Brian said, 1.2 seconds covering the entire field, and less than a second covering the top 22 drivers in that session. It's not a short lap either here at 3.6 kilometers long, 11 turns, as we get some fantastic shots of the drone image. You can see the castle in the background, the mountains, and that, look at the surroundings that you got this circuit. It's a beautiful drive into the track. Probably only matched or maybe bettered by the drive into the Red Bull Ring that you get when we head to Austria in September, but it really is lovely around this part of the world.
I won't talk about you hitting the apexes coming in this morning when we were driving through the windy roads. Here are the results of free practice 1.
Yeah, Jack Aitken, 126.555, just over a tenth quicker than Ben Durr. Jules Gounon was only 100 slower than Ben Durr, third quickest, with Thierry Vermeulen in fourth, Maro Engel fifth, Luca Engstler sixth in the Lamborghini, Thomas Preining seventh with a late push, Lucas Sauer, the championship leader, eighth, Arjun Maini ninth, Tom Callender going pretty well in that session as well, the youngest driver in the field in 10th place. Arjun Guin 11th, Jordan Pepper third in the championship, 12th place there, ahead of Ben Green, Fabio Scherer. Gilles Magnus was 15th, Max Powell 16th, Nicky Tim 17th, Mirko Bortolotti 18th. They looked promising at the start of the session, but both of the Abt Lamborghinis dropped down the order in the end, with Marco Wittmann 19th, René Rast 20th, not making much of an impression in the BMWs either. Timo Glock frustrated with the handling of his car, back in 21st ahead of Feller, Bart and Scuring. So super slow-mos of the top 3. Jules Gounon, who's always there or thereabouts, like many, finding the limits. You can see all the gravel that's been brought back onto the circuit as well, the corners where they've been running wide, going 2 wheels through the gravel, dragging it back on, making things slippy, making it easier to run wide. Ben Durr with a superb performance to put his McLaren second quickest, and the McLaren that's new to him completely, driving that one so far this year. But Jack Aitken setting the early benchmark with a 126.555 second lap in the Ferrari, the driver that comes into this weekend fourth in the championship, within just a few points of the championship lead. So there you get the wonderful aerial view from our drone camera here, and we've got another free practice session to come. That's at 3:35 local time. Brian Oliver and myself, Chris Hartley, will talk you through it from 3:30 this afternoon. Thanks for your company.